All right. Hey, hey, how's that for professionalism? Hi, welcome to the Idea Lab one-page plan for the new year. I'm Sylvia Henderson, the clarity queen of idea implementation, and this is a new thing for me. This is having my own live-streamed event where it's simultaneously folks in the room and reaching out to you out there, wherever you are, is new for me. And if you see me, come on in. That's hello, hello, as folks stream in here live. We're live in the CoLabs facility in Laurel, Maryland, and it is a gorgeous facility for doing what we're doing. You can either have a seat in the audience pit here, or or at the table. So, to get you started, to get started, this is also new for me to not have a formal PowerPoint slide, scripted presentation, because I want to speak from the heart. I want to speak from what it is that I did that made me go, oh my gosh, what a great idea. And then I wanted to share it with you. So that was how this whole, I did this whole presentation, or I got this whole piece together. And it's going to be as it's been developed, and I just wanted to be kind of spur of the moment. Of course, it's organized, but I want you to, I didn't want it to be scripted. And so that's my challenge for tonight, and I hope that that works for you. I want to tell you a little bit about how this got started for me. This is the end of the year. And of course, it could be the beginning of the year too. It depends on when you're watching this, but it's the end of the year. And I usually take December to plan what it is I want to do for the new year. I usually don't make appointments in the last couple of weeks of the year. I lay things out. I have papers all over the place in my house as I start to try to figure out what to do for the new year. And as I was doing that even earlier than normal, I started looking at all the papers that I had laid out for the last year in my planning, and I had spreadsheets, which don't come natural for me, and I had all kinds of other stuff laid out, and I thought, and I looked at what I had done over the year, and while I was pleased with what I had done, and with the accomplishments that I've had, there were still some things that I looked at and I thought, oh my gosh, I forgot all about that, or that got buried in the papers and I just never looked at it again, and I never got around to it again. And so that frustrated me while I was working on my plans for 2014. And then I started out of desperation, or I guess you call it desperation, I started to think, how can I make it so that when I plan things, when I do all this layout, I can see just like 1 or 2 pages on my wall in my office and just see them all the time, and everything I do goes into that one page for the year. And so I'm standing there, as I am wont to do sometimes, thinking, how can I make this work? And as I was going through my own frustration and my own, let's see how I can organize this, I came up with a process. Of course, I'm the process person. Take my ideas and create a process to get them implemented. So that's the genesis of this program tonight, is that process. Come on, don't stay back there either. Come on down, and if you're going to work, sure. Okay, if you're going to work, then use the table. I'll just kind of shout out to you. Yeah, I'm sure. There is no problem hearing me. Hello, hello. So this got developed out of my need to get everything together into one spot. And I thought I would share it with you because I thought maybe you might be able to use this same process or some version of this tool. The tool, there's nothing to hand you. There's nothing neat and tidy, because I want you to grow this. I want you to develop this process for yourself and develop this tool for yourself. So it just came out of my head, and I took my idea out of my head and put it into action, just like my tagline. The value of a one-page plan to me, the value is it's something that you see and that stays in front of you, and it's not complicated. It might look complicated. If you saw what I ended up with at the end of my process, you'd go, oh my gosh, that's almost as bad as all the papers that you have on your table. But as we develop the tool, and as I develop the system with you, you'll see that it actually does make sense, and it'll grow with you. So the value of having this one page is an easy reference. It's something you can see all year long, and it's kind of like a vision board in that it's something that stays in front of you the whole year, and it's portable. I'll show you that I carry mine around, and as we go through it, I'll give you a couple of other reasons that I thought, oh my gosh, I've hit on something. I hit on something that I can really use throughout the year. So I don't know, what interested you about the title, about the session? Why one-page plan? You know, what did that do to interest you? Anybody? I do have people here in the room.
Because I'm all scattered in 2013.
Okay, I'll repeat.
I was looking for another way to make sure I can stay focused and stay on course.
Okay.
Because I want to move forward and not be stagnated due to, being unorganized.
Okay. So one answer was because she's scattered in 2013 and she wants to pretty much do what I just said I did, pull it together so that you can focus in the coming year. Why else would a one-page plan, turn you on or interest you?
I got so much going on, and I had to take a break from my business for 8 months, and a lot is up here.
Okay, a lot is up in the head.
I'm so overwhelmed, I don't even know where to begin anymore.
Okay.
And I got a lot of unstuff done, as well as new stuff that I want to get done within 3 months.
Perfect, perfect. And so ME says that a lot of things got done, a lot of things got scattered or kind of postponed throughout the year, and there are things that she wants to implement in the first 3 months of the year, and so having them in one place, focused, will help you get them implemented. Great, great. I asked in the response to the registration for you to get some supplies. Now, they aren't required, but some of the supplies that I have asked you to bring together, and if you don't have them now, you can get them later and once you look back on this and see what we do. I love Post-it notes, as anybody who knows me and works with my process knows. I love Post-it notes. I love flip chart paper, easel paper. And so that was one of the things that's like my required tool. Whatever version, you can do a legal size paper. If it works for you on an iPad or an electronic device, fine. But for me, paper is what keeps things focused for me. I'm old-fashioned. I need to see paper. I like to see colors, and that's what helps keep me focused. So flip chart paper or as large a piece of paper as you can get. You may want a couple sheets just in case you mess up one, although I'll show you can't mess this up. Markers, if you want to play with colors, great. So a couple of colored markers, some colored Post-it notes. Don't get too hung up on what the color codes mean and all that right now, because we're going through the process to understand the process. Pencil and an eraser that doesn't get things all smudged up, because some parts of this plan will be done in pencil. If you're using a big piece of paper like this, a big flip chart page, you may want to use a Sharpie. Get a Sharpie as well as some big markers, and you'll see why. And I believe, tape, if you're going to tape it up on your wall, in your office, or in your room. What else did I have for supplies? I think that's it. So that's all you need for going through this process. So let's get going on the process. The goal is to plan out a year. So we're looking at 12 months, and we're probably looking at beyond 12 months. And before I even started putting pencil to paper, there are a few things that I would recommend that you do. Now, of course, I can imagine you trying to do these all in the next 5 minutes, so just bear with me. These are some of the things that I recommend you do before you really map out your plan for the new year. And the first thing is to identify 3 to 5 goals that you want to accomplish in the next year. And every time I say the next year, I really mean 6 to 12 months, and they're going to become rolling 6 to 12 months because I'm going to recommend that you kind of check in on your plan really every month or two. And so those 6 to 12 months will roll forward as you work through your goals and as you work on your plan. Meaning that 2 months from now, 12 months will take you into 2015, the first couple of months. And then 2 months from then, it'll take you further into the year. And that's good because plans are meant to be a little bit fluid as you work on them. So 3 to 5 goals for the year, identify them. Don't go more than 5 goals. One of the reasons why I have paper all over the place is that I may be the idea clarifier for everybody else, but for me, I get all these ideas, and then I'm like, squirrel, I'm off on something else. So I'm focused on something, I'm an implementer, implement squirrel. And so I need something to keep me focused. So no more than 5 goals for the year. That's going to be plenty to work on, yeah.
Are they strictly business goals?
Aha, good question. Are they strictly business goals? No. Oh, my suggestion is no. I suggest look at some personal goals. And the personal, define that any way you want. Personal can be relationship. I have 5 goals for the coming year. One is income, and you might think just one is income. Well, income relates to a whole bunch of actions that'll bring me income. So income is one goal. Personal growth is one of my goals. For me, because I hate paperwork, I know that there are some things I have to do in my business paperwork-wise, structure-wise. I'm an LLC, and there are some things that I have to get together that I haven't gotten together. And so one of my goals for 2014 is my business structure and paperwork, and I have somebody helping me with that because of some longer-range goals. Another goal I have is family and relationship. And then my 5th goal is a long-range goal that I have that takes me past 2014. Because I need to get started on some things for my future plans in this coming year. So, good question, yes. In order to kind of balance your year, they say balanced life is sort of an impossible thing to achieve. Well, yes and no. If you plan the balance, if you plan devoting time to the things that are important to you and to the people who are important to you, you make it happen. So thank you, that was a good question. So 3 to 5 goals. The other thing that getting those 3 to 5 goals does for you is as you lay out your plan for the year, it allows you to say yes, it allows you to make smart decisions for saying yes and no. We're in this environment that we're in physically. This is a collaborative environment. And so everybody in the audience here can be working with everybody else in the audience, depending on what our businesses are. And throughout the year, man, we've got good people here. And out there, you've probably networked with good people or have good business partners. And something comes up in January, and you go, "Ooh, that sounds good." And then something comes up in March, and you go, "Ooh, that sounds good." And something comes up in May, and "Ooh, that sounds good." And by the time you get to December, you've oofed your way to not much progress. And so, but I say, can I hear a yes for anybody out there who identifies with that? So having 3 to 5 goals helps you determine what you will say yes to and what you'll say no to throughout the year, especially when you see it mapped out, as you'll see it shortly. You'll be able to see, oh, no, this month was this is what I had planned. That doesn't mean you can't deviate from the plan, because like I said, your plans are fluid, but it does help you stay focused so that you might go, instead of way out here with your business or some other commitment, you might just go like here and back, and it keeps you overall on your path. So having a few goals helps you stay focused. Also, you'll be able to see your progress. If your goals are SMART, and that's another whole workshop. But if your goals are SMART, they're specific, they're measurable, they're attainable, meaning they really are, you can really do them, they're realistic, and that they have a time limit to them. If you have your goals set that way, you'll be able to see your progress and know that you're making progress on your goals throughout the year. So we'll just stay tuned for a different workshop on SMART goals. So 3 to 5 goals. Then the next thing, after you've identified your goals, evaluate and assess where you are now. Look at the current year. You know, they say don't go back in time, but look at the current year and celebrate your accomplishments. Learn some lessons from your disappointments. So don't dwell on disappointments from the year, but learn some lessons. What happened? Why are you disappointed? What did you do, or what could you have done to change or to make changes with the things that have disappointed you? So take them as lessons. Look at your health. Evaluate your health, your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, your spiritual health. Just kind of do an assessment on where you are now. Are you happy with things? If you're not, what aren't you happy with, and what can you change? Because these are things that you might consider putting in your plan for the new year. So evaluate your accomplishments, your disappointments, and learn some lessons, your health. Evaluate your relationships, and that's both business and personal. One of the items that I include in evaluating my relationships is I love getting out and networking with people and being around people. And so, but not all networking has been very useful for my business. Not all networking has been, productive or profitable. And so part of the relationships that I'm evaluating are the networking relationships. What groups should I drop? What groups should I join? What else is out there? How can I better collaborate? So the relationships that I'm looking at for the year, what worked and what didn't work business-wise and personally. Some of you know out there you've got family, you've got friends, you've got relatives that you might need to evaluate. Are they holding you back, or are they helping you move forward? Evaluate, I already said networks, and evaluate your finances. Are you where you want to be that way financially? And what might you be able to do to make some changes on that in the coming year? And that doesn't just mean profit. That also means investments, savings. Can you combine some of the things that you're doing to be more economical? So this might take you a few days of sitting down and just kind of slowing down, especially during the holiday season, to do some of that evaluation. And the answers you come up with should help you feed your goals, feed those 3 to 5 goals for the new year. So set goals, evaluate the year that's just about to end. Make some decisions is the third thing. Make some decisions about what you've evaluated. And again, remember, you can't make an entire life change in 12 months. So pick the 2 or 3 or 4 things that you can really see a significant progress towards change, if that's your goal, and then set them as your goals. So make some decisions. What can you look at in the next 12 months to accomplish? What can you look at in the next 2 to 3 years that you could start this year? Like I said, I have a couple of long-range goals that will take my business to where I want it to be 3 years from now, but it's not going to get there unless I set a goal for this year to get there. And then once you've done all of this thinking, start mapping out your plan. And so here we go with the plan, the one-page plan. So the first thing is we're looking at a new year. So I want to map out a year. So here's fancy drawing. This is to show you that you do not need a whole neat and tidy system. So I thought a year is 12 months. So I looked at I'm mapping out 12 months. Bada bing, bada boom, 12 months. And So to identify those 12 months, how do I do this so that the camera, you want to identify each month. I'll show you a neater. If you want to absorb what I'm doing and then do it, or if you want to follow along with me, fine. Depends on how you want to operate. So identify your 12 months. Go through the whole calendar, and I set them off to the side for a reason. So, if you want to go that way, fine. But this is what works for me, or what's worked for me. What works for you? If you want to do it slightly differently, fine. I liked this as I was developing it because we look at our year in quarters, and so this helped me see that, okay, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter overall. Man, did the air go off in here? I'm having a personal summer. So I map out the 12 months. And before even getting too much further, I looked at, I'm sure at this point, you've got things in your calendar for next year already. I mean, I have dates scheduled for October of next year. So I wanted to look at, the air just went on. So I wanted to identify the big chunks, the big commitments that are already on the schedule. There's an analogy that I don't know how many of you have seen, the analogy in time management of you have a jar, and if you have a jar like a jelly jar or a preserves jar, and you put some big stones in it, you fill up that jar to a certain point with these big stones. And that takes up a lot of room in that jar. Well, those big stones are the big, solid commitments, the commitments that either take a lot of time or the commitments you already know you have for next year, if I use that for an analogy. And then if I have this jar with these big stones in it, there's still room in that jar. There's still air in that jar. So I can pour some smaller pebbles into that jar to fill up the jar even more. Well, those smaller pebbles would be some of the smaller commitments or the things that just come up for you or the plans that you might make to do something on a regular basis next year. And we'll see that shortly. But you still have room in that jar. And you could fill it up with sand or you could fill it up with water to fill up the rest of that jar. And by the time you've got that jar filled, you filled it with the little to-dos and the little oofs that take you off on a path, and then that your goals will bring you back to your focus. So you can fill that jar up with the big pebbles, the little pebbles, and the water, and we're going to fill up the schedule or the plan the same way. The big commitments, and this is where color coding, I don't care what color you use, but I used red for mine just because it came to me, and I wanted to actually see the big stuff, for a technical term. So once I had the year already mapped out or identified for the 12 months, I wanted to put in here the big commitments. And some of these abbreviations won't mean anything to you, and I'm not going to give you all of my little details. But I know that there's a conference that I go to for an organization that I belong to, and I go to that conference in August. So I put down that conference because I knew it was coming. I know I'm going to be involved in it. I know it's going to take a lot of time, and I know it's going to be in August. I have something big coming up in October, so I know that that's going to take time, and I just identified the big chunks, the big stones in my calendar. Here's where the personal plan. I know that I'm making a commitment. One of my goals is to spend more time with my family without sneaking in work. Because every one of you as an entrepreneur knows, you know that you've said to your family, I'm not going to work on the holiday. And you go sneaking down to turn on that computer early in the morning, and then you get absorbed for half the day when you said you weren't going to do any work. So I'm making a commitment, and my goal is to actually no work on that day. Now that's good. You guys heard me. So you can hold me to that for next year. I also know the same thing for, another big chunk. What else did I have? I'm going to tell you a little bit about, in a little while later, about an event or about something that's coming up in March. And that's going to be big. March is International Ideas Month. I know it's International Ideas Month because I created the month. I formally submitted the holiday, and if you look it up, anybody that even knows where a library still is, look it up on a book called Chase's Calendar of Events, and it's in the book, so it's a formal month's holiday. So for me, March is there's going to be a whole lot of stuff going on in March. So that's just a preview that you need to stay connected with me one way or another, and I'll tell you a couple of ways at the end, because you're going to find out all about International Ideas Month and the stuff that's coming up for that month. Got a couple of challenges for you to get your ideas implemented. A couple of challenges for you will be coming up to make sure you're on your path to making next year your best year yet. So March is a big one, Ideas Month. So take your big chunks, the things that you already are committed to, whether it's family commitments, whether it's a retreat you're going to go to, whether it's conferences you've already got scheduled. Some of you will have things all through here, because I know you. I know some of you have signed up for the session today. So you'll have several big blocks. But what this does is this shows you where you can add and where you can't add anymore. Or this shows you where you might have to make a decision as you look at some of your other plans on, have I already committed to this big time? And if not, is this as important as I thought it was based on the goals that I set? So already you can start making some decisions about, can I fit this in? Is it important enough to fill in my time or not? So do that throughout your 12 months as far as mapping out the year so far. And then the next thing, we'll do it this. This lets you see dates loosely committed that you've committed to or that you could be committing to. The next thing I did was, because I looked at it and I thought, okay, great, I see kind of what my calendar is going to look like. But I don't have a grasp yet of how is the year going to flow, because there's all kinds of stuff will come into the year based on, say, a commitment for June. Well, there's some things that probably have to get done in March and April and May to bring me to June, and I don't have a really good sense of that picture with just this calendar. And so, because I come from the corporate world where we had all kinds of tools for laying out projects, and one of those tools was using a timeline. And that's not that foreign. A lot of you have heard of timelines. And so below this, on the same page, I drew a timeline, starting with today, starting with now, and I put an arrow because I knew I'd be moving into next year. And a timeline, I want 12 months. Again, I want 12 months, but I want it on a linear time rather than as a calendar. So for my timeline, that's 6 months. Those are quarters of the year, and so there's my 12 months. And all on the same page, so identify your months. And you can see it doesn't have to be all that neat right now. So this helps me do the next thing. this helps me look at, say, Ideas Month is coming up, like I said. So for me, there's a whole lot of work I'm going to be doing to get me ready and to get you ready to work through International Ideas Month. So I use the timeline to show, okay, so that means that during this time period, starting now, it's open-ended over here, during this time period, I'm going to be prepping, I'll just say prep for Ideas Month. So that's my timeline's telling me that, I'm going to be spending a lot of time the first 2 months of the year to get ready for something that's coming up in March. Yes, January, February, okay, leading me to March. Sorry about that. So all of this is going to be activity getting ready for me, getting ready for March, for that event. Then March comes, and there's going to be a whole slew of activity. There's going to be a whole slew of things going on just for March. So as I'm looking at my year time-wise, I think, okay, I'm going to have some busyness January, February, really busy in March. Now, there's something that's going to go on in April. So in my busyness, I go, well, in order to get ready for what's going to happen in April, there's going to be some things I have to do maybe in February and March to lead to April. And I know that I can't do this sideways. So this says I'm going to be starting some activity here in mid-January, and I'm just throwing this out right now, and that will take me to an April commitment. So that's, this is one item. That's two things that are going to be going on. Now, if I happen to have May sort of to rest, not really, but I've got a commitment for June. Or let's just say, I know I have a big thing coming up in August. Well, that's going to take place in August, so there's going to be some ramp-up time to lead to that. So I'll map that out. So eventually, as I look at my timeline on the same page, I'm looking at these commitments. I have a summit in October, so that summit is in October, somewhere around here. That's the event. I know there's going to be a whole lot of work to lead up to that summit. There may be 3 or 4 months worth. And I'm just doing this right now to show you how I map out my timeline. As I look at the year's commitments, and I start to lay out, these are the things. I know I'm going to have a period of time where I'll be doing things to lead up to that commitment. At some point, I start to see that I've got a bit too much to do in February and March, because that timeline's telling me that I'm going to be doing some things throughout these 2 months, and I may or may not be able to squeeze in some of the other little to-dos that I was planning on for these months. See, I could have all kinds of things in my months written out, but then I look down here and see, how long will it really take me? And I really want to map out the big things. I'm not going to map out every Girl Scout meeting and every soccer game and all that on the timeline. Right now, I just want to make a plan for what's the big stuff in my year, and what does my time look like in my year to achieve those big things. But I want it all on one page so that I can see this is linear time. These are commitments. Okay? I'm going to stop right here. Questions or, not working for you so far?
I was just looking at the different time limits he was given. It looked like he was given anything from 2 to 3 months to work out. Is that kind of like a base thing, or it's just something that you do?
The question is the time that I've laid out here seems to all be falling into a 2-month, 3-month time frame. Is that a I don't know, standard or a basic thing? No. It's just most of my business, because my business is event driven, I know, and because the coaching that I'm receiving also says you need to plan out how you're going to reach your events a little bit better than you usually do, because I'll think of something for 2 weeks from now and go, ooh, I'm going to do it. But that doesn't work as far as getting people to know about it and leading people to it. So this is helping me discipline myself, which is something I didn't do for this year. I came up with ideas for events, and I thought today's, it could be July, and I go, ooh, I'm going to do this in August. And it didn't work as well as I wanted it to work. So now I'm disciplining myself to know that it probably will take, for me, about 2 months to lead people into what it is I'm going to do, sometimes 3 months. So mine happened to be 2 and 3 months. I've got some things, and I didn't want to get too small. So there are some things that will only take a month to get ready for. And right now, because I wanted to make sure the big stuff was looked at, I just looked at the things that would take 2, 3, 4 months. But you could easily do the month, on a smaller scale.
So I'm so struck by the fact that I think one of the places I go wrong is that I make a decision based on how I'm feeling in the moment, which is either I have so much energy and I'm so excited, or I'm totally overwhelmed. And what I get is that this would let me say no
Yes.
without it being random or needing to feel guilty.
Yeah.
I could say, actually, I've looked and I've already booked 38 hours a day, and so no, I can't volunteer for that. Thank you very much.
Right. See if I can net that out. It's for the microphone anyway. And that is, yes, as you look at this, if you're impulsive and you tend to go where your feelings lead you, this shows you that, if I really want to accomplish that goal, and that goal really was important enough for the end of that year or into the next year or even just 6 months, if that goal was really important enough to me, and that's another question you have to constantly ask yourself. I set that goal in January. Is it still important enough, or do I really want to go after that bright, shiny object? Because as soon as somebody invites me to King's Dominion to go ride a roller coaster in July, I'm going to be seriously thinking, okay, was my goal for September really as important as I thought it would be? And that's got to make me stop and answer the question yes or no. So yes, you're right. That at least makes you intentional in your changing if you do change. And allows you to say, yeah, that's exactly why I said this allows you to say yes or no with more intelligently, for lack of a better word. So beautiful, yes, you see that's the point of this. Now, to get me back to here, because we're keeping it all on one page, to get me back to here, what this allows me to see is, okay, so for February, there are a few things I'm going to have to do. So here's where the more detailed timing comes in. Something I did, hopefully you guys can write small. This is why the bigger the sheet of paper, the better. So now I take my month and I divide it into 4 weeks. And I know some months have 4.5, some months may have almost 5. But, so those are some leeway days. And again, this is meant to map out the year, not necessarily identify every single date. But I do off to the side, allow for 4 weeks in a month. And so for now, within the month, I can get a little bit more specific. There are some things, I don't know about your business, for mine, one of the things that I will be committing to again as the new year comes, is to be more consistent with my newsletters. Yes. I got some amens in the room. So, in order to be more consistent with my newsletter, I thought, and there's a couple of people out there out there remotely saying, yes, please. And I know who you are. Who are saying, yes, please, be more consistent with your newsletter. And so what I did was say, and my newsletter is called Idea Notes, but I just said, I literally wrote it out, but I won't write it out for all of them. I said I'm going to have the IN as Idea Notes, and I have quite literally identified the first week and the third week of every month, and I just put Idea Note down for now. This is telling me, my head, that you've got something scheduled. You've got something that you've committed to the first week and the third week of a month, every month throughout the year. You may have, if you're a coach, or if you're a trainer or a teacher and you've got consistent classes, you might have your classes identified throughout the year, or your program identified for weekly. I know a couple of coaches who have a 5-week program, and so, or a 10-week program. And so you might be saying program week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 for your program, so that you know that for an 8-week program, you know that you have pretty major stuff going on February and March. And so whatever your commitments are, or whatever you want to see happen throughout the year, just make a short note. You don't have to put the full description and the dates and all that, but you do know whether it might take place the first week, the second week, the third week, the fourth week of a month. Thanks to the personal, Thanksgiving was a big chunk, and I just know that week is pretty much destroyed as far as getting too much done. There'll be some little, day here and there that something will get done, but I know that 4th week of November is pretty much gone. I know that the 4th week of December is pretty much gone. And so this lets me see, just kind of at a quick glance, if I do write something in here, it's going to have to be something really little, and it's going to be imposing on my goal for personal time here. If you've got a vacation scheduled, that's another thing that I need to take care of a little bit better in my life, is to spend a whole week away, not even at the house. And so whatever that might be, we said, well, let's go to the beach in August. But that's going to be a little bit of a problem, because my plan shows I've got a big event, and that's pretty much going to take up this week, because I already know the dates. And so I might not plan, I can't, in all realism, can't plan my personal time for that big a chunk in August. So then the conversation comes up at home, because this is involving, your business as well as your family. Let's maybe take time in September. And then we look and we go, well, I've got a huge, huge thing coming up at the end of the month. And so this week is going to be occupied with this event. So the time off might have to be, might have to be July, might have to be November, whatever. But you get the point that this allows me to plan and to be able to stick to the plan, because that's the thing. I can say, yes, dear, I'll take the 2nd week in September off. But, realistically, that's going to be a challenge. And so this allows me to have the conversation, number one, so that all parties involved can be a part of the decision. And then the other party sees, well, in fact, the conversation already did come up, where we were talking about September, and the statement was made, yeah, but you've got your summit coming up the end of October. So is really September going to be a logical time to do it? It was like, no. So all throughout here, identify the things that you think will take place on a week, the first week of the year of a month, second week of a month, as we go along, so that you know, and so that you stay connected with me. Just let you know right now, my plan is to have an Idea Lab once a month, and it's somewhere, my goal is the 3rd week of a month. So I have to write here, I have a newsletter the third week of a month, and I'm probably going to have an Idea Lab the third week of the month, which is what this is. And so this helps me determine what I can do during that week. And again, it's just identify throughout, and that tells me you better get ready for the things you've committed to. How are we doing? I'm waiting for sort of absorbing that. So next, and this is where the pencil comes in, because the pencil comes into play, and you will never see it if I do it in pencil. This would be, I write in pencil the things that I'm not quite sure of, but I think could come up. So there's an event that I go to, a business event that involves travel. It involves 10 days away from home, 10 days away from the office. I think I'm going to go to that event in May, and I think I'm going to go in December. And now this is in pencil on my actual calendar, because if it comes out that to prepare for some other aspects of my business, I may have to make a decision that nope, not going to do that, can't do that month. So I've got quite a few pencil things. I've got 2 or 3. People have already said, let's collaborate. So I've got those little collaboration notes as I go through my year, so that because we've talked about dates, we've talked about general time frames. But again, this lets me know that I may not be able to collaborate just the way I thought I would in a particular time frame or for a particular arrangement. So again, this allows me to say yes or no to some of the things that I was thinking about doing, but turns out I may not be able to do. So I've got a lot of things in pencil on my actual map. So the last thing that I've done down here is, because I told you to keep your goals in front of you all year long, I have my actual goals written out, and they're on the bottom of the page, and they're going to stay there. I've taped them. They're going to stay there for the full year, so that they're staring at me, so that I see them. And every time I think about adding something, every time I think about scheduling something, I go, does it help me achieve one of my goals? And that is my one-page plan. That just, like I said, it just came up. It just developed it. I thought, how can I see my entire year on one sheet? And then you take that and turn that into whatever you develop for your individual plans. For examples, I mean, from here, you can then create your calendar, because you've got week 1, 2, 3, and 4. And as you look at your calendar, you schedule the things you need to schedule based on your plan. And because we get so focused on our schedules, we get so focused on our calendars, sometimes we're into week 3 and we have no idea whether we've really worked our way towards our goal. And having this in front of you so that you see your calendar and you're in week 3 and you think, God, it's third week already? What have I done? And this allows you to say, okay, I need to wipe all the miscellaneous off my calendar, because I'm in week 3 and I haven't done any of this stuff yet. Or it allows you to say, yes, I'm in week 3 and I've checkmarked that and I've done the little things that I said I need to do for reaching my goal for the next month or for 2 months later. Let me think, what else here? I got all kinds of stuff. One other, and this is way too anal. This is one other item that I'm being coached through. See, the coach has a coach. So every one of us has a coach for something at some point in time, and it's helping. So the idea notes, my newsletters that I'm committed to getting out more regularly. I'm actually working on an editorial schedule because magazines have editorial schedules. And so this is just going to blow your mind. This is 2014's editorial schedule. There is no way you're reading any of this. But for each, I've got 2 notes a month, 2 newsletters a month, so it's got two different issues going on. And I've identified kind of what's going on in a month in terms of holidays and other special things that I can talk about. I'm identifying a topic for each newsletter, and that might change, but still, right now I'm identifying a topic for each newsletter, sort of what I want to do of all of my products, of all of my services, what I want to talk about in that newsletter. My newsletter usually has a quotation. So I've identified sort of the subject matter of the quotation so that it all kind of flows. So I can't fit all that stuff in here. But at least this says on my own map for the year, I say see editorial schedule, so that I know more detail about what I'm doing for that newsletter. And yeah, that's even a little bit anal for me, but that's something that should help me stick to the flow of the year, because my subjects will relate to what I've got going on in the year in terms of the newsletter. So now, sign up for my newsletter at my website, which is IdeaSuccessNetwork.com, IdeaSuccessNetwork.com. You'll see a newsletter sign up on the right side of the screen. And then you can hold me to and say, where's that newsletter? When you haven't gotten it twice a month. Whew, what's hitting you? Well, I'm seeing some thinking. I've got a kind of a look. I can't see what's going on out there, but
I need someone to sit down with me
okay.
and help me put all these things in. Because for me, my schedule, I'm somebody who doesn't, I'm one of these people, I'm a squirrel person.
Yep.
And I'm not a planner. And as a result, I don't have results because I don't plan.
Okay.
So for me, sitting down and doing this is like, oh my God, how great. And then I sit down with a piece of paper and I go, oh my God, I think I need a cup of coffee. And never mind, I'm tired, I want to take a nap. And by the way, I need to go to the grocery store now.
Yes. Okay. And so what's being said is yeah, and I can identify with that. This stuff was not a Sylvia, you're so good at this. Oh no, I was so frustrated with some things from this year, and I was so overwhelmed by looking at the stuff that I'd written down, because I write notes everywhere. I got little journal notes, and I've got pieces of paper, and I've got scrap paper and 3x5 cards and things on the back of a napkin, and that literally was what I was sitting down looking at about 4 weeks ago. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. And I got up and the dog happened to bark, and so I went out to take her for a walk, because of course that was more important than doing this. And let's see, what else popped up? Oh, I don't know, something else just as important popped up, like the phone rang, and I thought, oh goody, I can go talk to somebody and not do this. So another day went by. So I feel you. I mean, exactly, yeah. And having somebody who you can A, spend time with so that they won't let you off the hook, number one, and then B, somebody who can just ask you questions. And then you can answer and go, yes, okay, this is important, or yes, this is what I need to do. Or somebody who might be able to say, well, maybe that'll take you a little bit longer than you thought it would take you. And so why don't you plan for 2 weeks instead of 1 to make something happen? Well, helps a lot. And gee, I wonder who that somebody could be.